Hello and welcome back to a very hot episode of Comic Catch-Up here, the Canon Catch-Up. It is extremely hot in both Boston and Seattle, unfortunately. It's like 91 degrees. We're smoking,
Like hot everywhere, dude.
but we're still
Yeah.
here to take you through the Star Wars canon comics. I am joined by just Johnny today. So today we're covering Jedi of the Republic, Mace Windu, the miniseries, which is 5
hmm
issues. So today we're doing Anakin and General Grievous, and that's Mace Windu. And that Mace Windu special. So you know what? Let's just jump right into it. Let's just get into it.
Yes. Let's get into
So
it.
Mace Windu, you
Mm.
open up. This is right after the Battle of Geonosis. It's a
hmm
time of war, and Master Windu is talking to Kit Fisto and not Kit Fisto. Excuse me. He's in this comic though.
He
Kiadi
is in this
Mundi,
comic.
and they're like, man. So they just have a really in-depth conversation about what it means
It
to
like
be a general right now. Like, is that something they
yeah.
want? And
I
when you
love the
read it,
holographic tee. Obviously, it
yeah,
was Kiadi Monday when he had like the. It was cool. Anyways.
yeah, and obviously, when I'm reading this, I'm like, man, these dudes are so wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
I know.
well, because they're Mace Windu's talking like, well, we gotta take part in this war now, so we lead the
Right.
Republic's clone army into battle.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Jedi have always been champions of peace. We protect life above all else. But I suppose sometimes that means becoming a sword instead of a shield. And I feel like there's
Mm.
like there's the
That's the
there's the
theme
point.
of this comic. I feel like,
There's the point. I feel
dude.
like Yoda says Empire Strikes Back. You use only the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack. And so that sword instead of the shield. That's the real. Ugh, it stabs. It's a double edged
Yeah.
sword.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the Jedi is early on. They're like Master Windu, assemble your team. You're going on a mission to Hisric.
Mm.
There's something going on. This is early in the war. The Separatists are up to something in the Outer Rim. Go figure it out. So Mace throws together Kit Fisto, Crossset Dibs, and Risa Mono, the latter two of which are new characters.
Right.
Obviously, Kit Fisto from the films. To go on, which I like the fact that
Fan favorite Fisto.
they're retroactively establishing the fact that like Kit and Mace always had each other's backs because it sort of explains why he would be on the team to go get Palpatine at the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Oh, in that
You know,
conversation, I just have to add, there's one panel of Yoda that's freaking terrifying. And
oh
I'm gonna,
yeah, yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna, I'm gonna show. I'll show it now and the edit. But sorry. Anyways, keep going.
It is pretty scary. I'm looking at it, I think, right
The
now.
art for Yoda is
I'm not
a
afraid.
little weird.
But
Anyways,
anyway, so I just never really thought about it. Like Mace probably would have really had to trust Kit Fisto to bring him along in that final
right,
mission, to
right.
arrest the Chancellor. And so they sort of like make it
True.
so that yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's
Mm,
multiple lines where like we always have each other's
mm,
backs. Yeah, so they're
good
on their
point.
way to Hisric, and Proset
Mm-hmm.
Dibs is always having doubts from the very start. He's this
Yeah.
blind Jedi. I don't think he's a Miraluka, which are they're a blind species from Legends. I think he's just blind.
Mm,
And he's like, man, there's nothing about this mission I'm looking forward to. The Force, it shudders. War is no place for a Jedi, and that's sort of the core of Proset Dibs as a character. Is
yeah.
he's becoming real disillusioned real quick with what's going on with the Jedi Order.
May I
And that's,
say, these
go ahead.
freaking Clone Wars armors and robes are so sick.
You can put up this
Love the
panel.
look.
Yeah, so they get off. They're on Hisric now, which there's a lot
Yeah.
of great droid dialogue. Like the droid dialogue when they're flying in. There's just one B1 battle droid, and it's like it's beautiful here. Too bad I have no one to share it with. Like I could hear Matthew Wood's voice
Yeah, yeah.
saying
I know.
that.
I know. I definitely read Matthew
It's
Wood's
very
voice
funny.
for the
So
droid.
they yeah they show up and they have this sweet armor, very cool looking, and they all hop off and they start you know cutting people down, little droids.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good
Droids.
time. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And then they find well technically the end of the first issue is the droids.
The,
They detect
the
the Jedi, and you sort of
right.
get this reveal of there's this new droid who doesn't like being like, oh, what's the deal with this guy? It's
Literally just,
ADW4,
literally
who
just
is basically just
Ultron.
Ultron. Yeah, Ultron
But
droid, who I
he's
definitely
sick
read
though.
in James Spader's voice,
So
and
did
he's like a
I.
mercenary,
Mm-hmm.
like a mercenary commander.
Yeah, he
But
was
yeah,
so cool.
so the Jedi, they're kicking droid butt, and then
Mm-hmm.
they go. Historic is like the whole point of the planet is it only gets sunlight once, like for like an hour every month.
Right.
So it's a subterranean society. So they go underground and they find this like city under there. They're like, man, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on here? Something's off. Like all these people are underground. Like, what point? Why are you the separatists even here? Like, what is happening?
What is the
Uh,
point? Yeah.
but then, okay, then it cuts back to the droids, and they're like, okay, the Jedi are here. Let's go get them. But this
Yep.
droid, I just want to point out this bit. This droid doesn't like being called, like military ranks. He's a mercenary, the W4 Ultron droid,
Mm-hmm.
and the droids keep wanting to give him a designation like the B1s, and they keep wanting commander. He's like, I've already told you, enough with the military titles, and it's
Yeah.
like
Well,
captain,
he's like, so what am I
chief,
supposed to call
and
you
then
then?
and then the
Yeah.
final one it calls him skipper. Skipper, we found something, and I love that. I think that is so funny that
Skipper.
that the droid called him skipper,
Oh my
uh,
god.
because they just want him so badly to
Right.
have a designation.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the Jedi are down in the caves, and then boom, ambush. Droids bust in.
Pew, 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 pew.
A lot of great
You
action in
know?
this,
Yeah.
and
Seriously.
Mace starts kicking serious ass.
What did you
Uh,
think of the art?
I like the art. I think it's all right. I mean, I think it does
Yeah.
the job.
Yeah. Same here.
It's not my favorite art, but I think it's good enough.
No. Yeah. I agree.
Um,
I agree.
then the fight gets sort of broken up, and it's revealed that the droids they're there because, as I mentioned, the plants only get sunlight like once every month. So these plants have tons of energy in them because they have to survive for
Mm,
a month without sunlight. So the
mm,
droids are trying to harness the photosynthetic energy to like have a limited power source. And
yeah.
they're like, okay, well, this is not good. But in the process of this, the little underground city they were in gets pretty much destroyed,
Destroyed. Yeah.
uh,
From
which
the
is a yikes.
ambush.
We cut back and you have General Grievous. Is revealed
Yeah.
General Grievous hired.
Also, General Grievous. What did you think of his look? Because he looked a little different. It was kind of cool.
He looks like a tad bit different. He looks a little bit more like the concept art. I feel like he looks
Yeah.
like Clone Wars Grievous a little bit.
Yeah. It's closer to like 2003. Kind of. I feel like
Yeah, it's a
it's
nice
cool.
little blend
It's
there.
definitely cool. Yeah. Because this is like basically this is what General Grievous would look like in Attack of the Clones if he was in the movie, pretty much. Right.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, very cool. Love
What
to
did you
see
think
it.
of this scene of Grievous recruiting W4?
The before, yeah, no, I loved it. I loved it. And they, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Um, yeah, they again, I read it in James Spader's voice, so it added this sense of more of a dramatic talk. But I loved,
And
I loved it.
Grievous even says the flair for the dramatic. I'm confident that they based him
Yeah,
off of Ultron. I mean, it even looks a little bit like
yeah,
Ultron.
no, I'm confident with that too, because that was the voice I read it in. Um, yeah, but Grievous seemed kind of impressed by his skills and was like, "You'd be useful to us." So yeah, and then basically the he was like, "I'm in," basically pretty quickly. So I love that scene. So it's very cool.
Most of this is just pretty solid action. Let's just cut to
Yeah,
the meat,
yeah.
the meat,
We go the big pew 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 pew.
the meat of the arc, which is the fact that the whole time here, one of the Jedi, being Cross Master Dibs,
Mm-hmm.
is really just struggling with the fact that they're fighting and like what's happening here. They've as we mentioned, that city underground all gets destroyed. He's like, we were supposed to protect these people. Even
Yeah,
Kit Fisto's like, we got to get back to the fight. And he's like, Master Dibs is like, we're supposed to be helping people. Like,
yeah.
what's happening?
He questions like what the Jedi have kind of become, and I feel like that's like been a pretty prominent thing, with comparing it to something like the High Republic and how they acted back then, and then seeing the stuff now and seeing people question that is very cool. It's very cool. And Dibs did that especially. And then do we want to? I don't know how. I forget kind of where we are. Yeah. So he basically it kind of leads to this point where he kind of
Confronts Mace.
confronts Mace Windu. Yeah, and they kind of like argue for a second, like morally, like is this okay? Like we should not be doing this. Like this isn't what the Jedi stand for, type of thing.
Well, what he
And
sort
then,
of comes to he comes to the realization of, or at least he asserts that the Jedi are the Council only sent them here to this planet for the same reason the Separatists are, is to use this
right.
energy source to help win the war. And
Yeah.
so, he realizes that, he says, the Council is using you. You're a pawn, no more than a clone in Jedi attire.
Hmm.
You know, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And then they basically break out in a duel after that.
essentially, it's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, honestly, like Jedi moments in especially the
Mm.
Clone Wars. It's such a good one.
Yeah.
And in the middle of this duel, we get a flashback to Mace as a Padawan.
which is very
Who
cool.
they go. It's Mace and his master,
Mm.
Sissel and Mir, and they're
Yeah.
going to this planet where there's someone in a Jedi temple pretending to be a Jedi and like
Mm.
abusing the Jedi religion, like pretending to be one.
Right.
Getting like tithes from people,
Well,
pretending that
fooling
they can,
everybody too.
yeah, fooling, but manipulating
Yeah.
people's sadness. Like this planet is diseased,
Right.
and he's just pretending that he can help them and
This
taking their
great
money.
savior or protector. Yeah.
He's like a heretic. He's like
Mm.
the Catholic Church in like the 12th century. Where those like, hey,
He
just
he
pay
looks
us
kind of like
money.
a, it kind of looked like a fat Palpatine or
A
like
little
a,
bit, yeah.
or I don't know, something like that. Anyways,
But
um,
it's he's the kind of guy who's like, hey, you got to give your blessings to me, and then maybe I can do something for you. But
for
then it's
you,
like, oh
right?
well. So anyway, so there's that flashback, and you really get a
Hmm.
sense that Mace has this fire in him, man. He's got this anger
Yeah.
about the Force. Like the whole time he's like the line he says is, "This man is perverting our sacred teachings to prey upon a vulnerable people. I can think of little
Right.
my tongue could say better than my saber." In this
Mm.
instance, like he wants to kill this dude the whole time.
Well, yeah. I
His
mean, there's this super cool panel where he's kind of like standing over this guy with his lightsaber. Um, and he's like,
anyway,
I will make sure you never hurt another soul again. This I vow.
we
That's
cut back
cool.
to the duel because the artists and the writers are, you know, you're trying to get the parallel of
Right. Between
of the
the
two because
right.
honestly, the way I'm reading it, like this heretic guy, he says,
Hmm.
kill them in the name of the Force, and he's the heretic. But so 20 years later or whatever, that's sort of what Mace is doing. That's what the Jedi
Right.
are doing, is to kill
No, I
them in the
know.
name of they kill
It's
them in the
you
name of the
either
Force.
die a hero or see. I guess not. It's a, that line doesn't really apply. What is it? You
You die
die.
a
You either
hero,
die a
live
hero or
long enough to
live
see
long enough
yourself
to see
become the
yourself
villain.
become the villain. Yeah. Kinda that.
Kinda. What Mace says though is there are no gray areas. We cannot afford them. This is where men set their own terms, and that is where true wickedness festers. And that
Right.
sentiment I don't necessarily agree with in the context of Star Wars, in the sense that
Mm.
if you dabble in the dark side a little bit, forever will it dominate your destiny. That's Yoda. If you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny. Like you can't just like, I'll just kind of use the dark side. You know
I
that
know, but Mace has
gray
always been that character, which I mean, yeah, it again is
complicated. Like
weird.
that's
Yeah.
why it's so good is that he's not wrong there. I don't think either of them are really wrong. But
Right.
the way he goes about it, the militancy of what he's
Yeah,
doing
that's a good point. The militancy is
is,
the
it's peace above all else. Like the Jedi, Mace is saying the Jedi Order exists. Like Mace still has that good in him, so he still does come back. You know, the Jedi Order exists to keep that resultant malevolence away from the people, to protect them. Peace above all else. That
mm,
is the axiom always. It's peace above all else, but it's kind of hard to be peaceful when you're a general leading troops on the front line in a
right.
war.
Yeah.
So it's like this. It's such a tough paradox. Is Mace still has a lot of these ideas down, but
Hmm.
it's and even in like in this comic, because often people are like, "Oh, Mace is that bad Jedi." He's
Yeah.
so intense. He's like a bad guy, but
Yeah. Well,
he
I think
still
it's
has
probably
it
just
down.
because
It's just, but the
right.
whole wider effect of the war, like it doesn't matter that he can still hold those things dear, and it shows us that he's more complicated than just like this hard ass who
Right.
is the downfall of the Jedi.
Hmm.
Like he's even if there's nothing he can do, like he is still trying his best, and they show that in this comic. Like, he spares Process Dibs just like he ended up
Yeah.
sparing that other guy, even though he wants to kill both of them. Like it just
Which I feel like shows that like the light kind of drowns out the dark, at least in him. You know.
in him, yeah, no, in
Yeah.
him for sure. But my
Hmm.
point being is people always look down upon Mace, and I
Right.
think that
Because of that dark side
because of the the dark
ishness.
side
Yeah.
is his he's more of the badass.
Right.
Uh, yeah, like
Anyways.
Mace says his former self says, it's a cut between the flashbacks when he's about to kill
Hmm.
the other guy, the heretic. He says, "I'll make sure
Hmm.
you never hurt another soul again.
Hmm.
I'll kill you as a true Jedi." And it's like,
Hmm.
ugh, like some of these lines are like, oh man, the seeds of confusion in Mace Windu are
Yeah.
they're sown in deep of
Very. Yeah.
like what does it mean? But anyway,
Very
so they knock
apparent.
he beats Process Dibs in a duel because Mace
Hmm.
Windu is badass. Mace Windu knocks him out. They tie him
Yep.
up, and then they go deal with you know W4 Ultron droid.
Ultron
There's some
droid.
good there's some good action. They
Yes. Really
beat
cool
him.
action.
Honestly, there's not much to talk about here other than the fact that it's
Yeah.
great. It's Fisto lines. It's funny dialogue.
Well,
It's good
it's
action.
funny because he gets taken down and like his head like shoots off his body and Mace Windu just crushes it with the
Just
force.
crushes it with the
It's the
force.
coolest panel. Yeah.
It
But
was.
yeah, anyways,
It
they
was
return to the temple at the end. And then Dibs is kind of put on a like trial. Are we calling it a
trial.
trial?
Yeah,
Or the
he's put on
yeah,
trial.
so for
But this is
his
where,
crimes.
yeah, and this is where though,
And he
because
he
this is
yeah, go
this is
ahead.
where Dibs starts to lose it a little bit because he
Yeah.
so desperately now is
Same
convinced that the Jedi are bad, right? And he's like,
right.
the Council has really lost its way.
Yeah.
So you're fully committed to this war thing. You're gonna try me, and I'll be killed. And
Mhm.
like prove me right. And when they
He's like,
don't
yeah,
do
he's
that,
do what you will.
and do what you will. He says, I
Mhm.
mean, but his first line, I said, has nothing to answer for. I've done nothing wrong. It is you, masters, self-proclaimed arbiters of the Force, who owe an explanation. You who would, under the guise of the army of the Republic, bastardize the very teachings that I hold dear. You sit on your thrones of deception, giving orders to those under your tutelage for your own means. It is not lost on me that a blind man is the only one who can see your true nature. I have spoken my beasts. I have cut my ties. There is no defense I can give. You will do with
Mm,
me what will is to be expected of tyrants. And it's like
right.
this dude's made up his mind, and I don't necessarily disagree with the first part. The Jedi are kind of fooling themselves. If you
Mhm.
watch the prequels, there's a lot of it's a weird thing that's sort of a plot line that's sort of buried in there. But at this point, the Jedi can't use the Force the same way. Like Yoda and Mace have that dialogue, and they're like, we can't let that get out. We can't tell people
Right.
because people will become more panicked. And so at this
Yeah,
point, like the
which
Jedi Council is keeping secrets. Like they
I
have all
know.
these, like they're
Yeah,
they.
which I
It's
was like,
just
ugh, when I first read, and I was like, ugh,
it's so complicated.
it is
Um,
complicated. It kind of drowns out
but
the
this is
evil
where
here.
process starts to lose it is when he's not proven right. He's convinced himself
Right.
so much that they would kill him, and
Mhm.
make him a martyr. Like Mace is like, no, we're gonna put you in the library and
Mhm.
you're gonna be confined there. Maybe you'll learn something. He's like, don't patronize me. They make a fool of you, Master Windu, a bigger fool of you make of yourself. But then he says, your hubris shall be your undoing, which true. But then he
Mhm.
says, I will laugh as I stand over your fallen corpse. And it's like, well, now
Dang
you've
it,
lost the
dude!
process.
You lost me, Dibs. Dibs, you
You
lost
lost it,
me.
Dibs. Well, Risa asks, was that a good decision?
Yeah. At
The
the end,
answer is
they're
no.
standing over the balcony. No.
I'll just say that the answer is no, because now
Yeah.
they've driven like the Jedi Council, whatever they're doing, it's a lose lose there. They're now
Mhm.
they've driven another guy mad. Like May says, like in all seriousness, though, we can't afford to lose a talent such as Process. The Jedi face our greatest challenge yet. His feelings, though misguided, are understandable. I pray he will come around in time. We will need his aid to face what is coming. Yeah, Mace is
That's
thinking about the
pretty cool.
war, and he says so. The ending, the final monologue is panels of all the prequel stuff to come,
Mhm. And then he says, "We
and
fight."
then Mace is saying we must trust in the Force. We would do any Jedi would. Staring into the face of evil, we fight. And so
Mm.
it's like yes and no. That's a
Yeah,
complicated
I know,
statement.
I know. Again, we go back to the confliction. So I feel like, yeah. Was there like a concrete answer? I guess in like from Mace's view, yes, but I don't know. I'm still conflicted because I don't fully agree with Mace either. So
It's
it's
just it's a
interesting
bad
though.
era to live in. But yeah, we
Yeah.
will. All
Yeah,
I
it's
will
a
say
bad
for
era to
now.
live in.
All I will say for now is that we will see Pross at Dibs later on.
Soon. Okay.
Um,
Coming soon.
yeah,
Yeah, well, anyways,
coming soon.
I really liked this this
So did
story.
I.
I actually read, I mean Levi knows this, but I read issue 5 by accident and then I read that first and then I had to go back, but
Silly
still
boy.
I still got it. But no, it was really good. Genuinely like I the art truthfully wasn't my favorite. Some of the characters just looked like very odd to me personally, but
Yeah.
anyways, but no, the story was really cool I love moral clashes. And I feel like lately I've been consuming Star Wars that like I really noticed that I guess like this comic and then Bad Batch I feel like too with like Crosshair and because the finale just wrapped
It's a
up.
lot of what Star Wars is, Johnny.
So yeah, no, I know. I just feel like I've been picking up
I
on
think
it
so
more, I
far.
guess. I don't
I
know.
think so far this might be my favorite thing we've read
Hmm.
out of the stuff we've had in this prequel era. Only
Okay.
because I just love you really have to read the dialogue yourself to get a feel for it. But
That's
Mace
good.
and Process conflict is just it's really well written. It's
It
so
is.
good. It
Really
pretty
is.
encapsulates the Clone Wars era. It's just the action is
Yeah.
really fun. It has fun characters.
Mhm.
W4 is Ultron droid, very funny, very enjoyable.
Yeah, very good.
And compared to
Um,
it's basically just Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and then all the one shots as the only other stuff we've read.
yeah,
I think this edges it out as like the best mini we've read so far. But that's just me.
yeah.
What do you think in terms of a
I
rating? I'd say I give it an 8. I solid, very solid 8.
Yeah, I feel like as a story, this was probably probably the dialogue and the story definitely
I think it's the
was
best dialogue we've had
was
so far.
better. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I'd say, would you say solid 8?
I gave it a solid 8, like very
Solid 8.
solid 8.
I think I'll agree with that. Yeah, I will second that. But we'll quickly go to move on to these Age of Republic one shots here.
Yeah,
The
so
Anakin
we
one. I just wanted to
Anakin.
say I loved the art and I love seeing Clone Wars
Anakin.
Anakin. I'm a sucker for Clone Wars Anakin. That's
This
so
guy right
cool.
here, he's a sucker. All right, so Age of Republic, Anakin Skywalker, the episode, because it feels like a Clone Wars episode.
I know it does
The
feel like an Here it
the
is.
issue is called the Sacrifice, and basically the conflict is there is a separatist foundry on the moon of Kudo, and Admiral Yularen wants to bomb it from orbit. Anakin does not. The point of contention is the fact that there are actually organic separatists on the planet and workers
Libra, how
there.
terrifying is this?
It's horrific. I was looking at the
It's
comic and
terrifying.
I came back.
No, I
It's
know.
horrific.
And I didn't want to like jump scare you. Anyways, sorry
You did.
that was my Anakin Clone
You,
Wars
you could have.
mask
It would have
from
been very funny.
2008. Yep.
So yeah. So Yularen's like, I don't want to risk clone troopers' lives. Anakin's like, I don't want to just kill innocents.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks they haven't chosen a side in the conflict. They're just
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah.
And let's see
I
what's
think at
going
one
on.
point he was like, I want to just be a pilot. I think he said I want to just
Anakin
fly. I want to
Anakin says,
fly.
I'd rather just fly. He's like, I don't
I'd
want.
rather just fly. Yeah.
He says, I wish I didn't understand Admiral Yularen's plan of attack, but I can't fault him for wanting to protect our soldiers. It's
Right.
not like I'm wrong either. Is this what leadership does in war? Makes impossible choices. I'd rather just fly. And
Right.
so then Anakin and Obi-Wan have a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and they talk about it, and they're just like, man, it's tough.
Did
Slaughtering people like
didn't
this.
their food look amazing?
It looks delicious. The block food, yeah. It's been
Mm.
for whatever reason that was like got picked up
Mm.
on Twitter recently, even though this
I
comic
know.
is like
I saw that because I
2
was like,
years old.
is that from a new comic? But no, it's
It's
from a
old.
2-year-old comic. So,
Very funny.
anyways,
But yeah,
yeah,
they're
very
talking
funny.
about it and they're just like, yeah, this war is tough. It's sort of this conversation echoes because this
Mm-hmm.
all of the most eras have a consistent theme. This conversation that Anakin and Obi-Wan have echoes the themes of the last Mace Windu comic.
Yeah.
Is that
No.
the war
I
just
just
isn't
picked up on
simple.
that.
This
Mhm.
this sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, basically
Basically,
that's the
yeah.
idea. It sucks. Yeah. Yeah, but
Anakin
then he
decides
flies
yeah, he
down to
decides to go
this
on his own.
droid factory. Yeah, so or droid foundry.
Mhm.
And basically he makes his way in and realizes that all the people there are not
Slaves. Yeah.
workers, they're slaves. And
Which
Anakin was a slave not so long ago as well.
Anakin goes nuts.
So he goes
However,
nuts.
I want to point out that we get
Mm,
one little bit of lore that I never
yeah,
thought I would ever get, and you get one flashback panel of Anakin as a slave making
right.
C-3PO, and Watto is flying by and goes, "Better see my face in it, Eddie." And
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell? Like that is
I know.
so funny. Like the fact
That was funny.
that Watto said that. I'm like, that's canon right there. Thank you, canon, for that. That he's like, "Hey, Annie,
Yeah.
better see
Now,
my
now, so now,
face
so
in it."
now Watto is
Is
modeled. Oh no,
C-3PO
C-3PO is
is
modeled
model after
after
Watto.
Watto.
Confirmed.
Fun fact, guys. Confirmed. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just one
But
panel. Anakin cuts back. It's going nutso with the lightsaber. It looks sweet. Absolutely awesome
yeah,
art.
there's a super cool panel with him just like in a stoic pose. Is awesome. Yeah, but a lot of cool action. And basically, yeah, he lets the slaves free, and they start to retaliate against the droids as well, which is really cool. He kind of like pumps them up, and then he heads back to
He heads back. Lauren,
the
the
vendor.
Resolute.
Yeah.
Lauren
Yeah.
says, "Yeah, you were right. Those were slaves." And it's
Mhm.
one of those moments where it's tough reading this because it's obviously it's Star Wars, especially in this era, is a tragedy.
Right.
But knowing Anakin becomes, Darth Vader, he's like a Jedi. I can't do this. A Jedi, I am a Jedi first and foremost, whatever military rank they give me. And we don't commit mass murder from a distance. And I'm like, man's literally blew up a whole planet from a distance. It's like, oh, it's tough. It's tough to read.
I
Where
know.
I'm just like,
It is.
how far this guy falls, and here he's saving innocence. Like even though, like you still see that anger in him because of the slave thing.
Yeah.
He still is able to break, and you see him earlier, like when Anakin and Obi-Wan are talking, he's like slams his fist on the table because
Yeah.
he has that desire to save everybody, and that's
save
what ultimately turns him to the dark side. That's what George always talks about it. It comes from a good place, there's always a little blurb at the end here, and the path on to good intentions often paves the road to hell, and it's like it's tough,
Yeah.
man.
Now this again, these one shot Age of Republic issues have been all fantastic. I don't think I've like disliked one. They've been really
Yeah.
good, and I feel like they just like define the character and especially where they're at, especially
Give it a
where they're
quick
at
rating, though.
in the course of the prequel era. This one, I feel like this is definitely like top 3 of the one shots out of this Age of Republic series, but man, I mean, like, I don't know if it's like hard to compare because I'm about to score like above an 8, but I don't know if it's like better
That's
than
okay.
the
That's
Mace
okay. I
Windu
mean,
overall.
that's okay
Trying to
because they're
think.
one shots and it's different.
Right.
I just go
Right.
for it because
So
we're tough on time.
like 8.6, I'd say something like
Yeah,
that.
okay. And our final one is General
What did you
Grievous
think? What
in
did you think?
Burn. I enjoyed it. Honestly, this is one of my lesser favorite ones.
Mm.
I still enjoy it, but
Yeah, I don't think it goes as deep as the other ones for
no,
character
I like the other
wise.
ones.
But
I really love that Django one, that Count Dooku one. Those
yeah,
really
that's
speak to me for
true.
whatever reason.
That's true.
Okay,
Anyways,
but
all
our
right,
final one,
General
yeah,
Grievous. Yeah,
it's General Grievous Burn, and we can go through this one pretty fast because there's not a lot of dialogue.
not a lot.
So
Yeah,
General Grievous, you see him hunting Jedi like an absolute horror monster.
so
It's
cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
This is my favorite art of the 3 we've read.
Yeah, that
Of this batch,
I'll
I
agree with
love
that.
the
Yep.
art here.
Mhm.
He is literally like a gothic horror villain,
Yeah.
just stalking through the trees,
So he
killing
like
Jedi.
perches up on the wall at one point, or like on
Oh,
the
it's
tree.
so
I
good.
think. So sick.
So he
Anyways,
kills some Jedi, and they're here.
Yep.
The Jedi were there to go to a hidden temple, and
Mhm.
Grievous finds that out and goes to explore the temple on his own. He hates
Mhm.
Jedi, and he's like, "Man, you Jedi suck!" And so he's just smashing through the place. He's got to go through all these Indiana Jones traps, and he gets to the center of the temple, which is clearly like some sort of meditation chamber for the Force. But
Mhm.
Grievous is like, what secrets is this? I can't feel anything because he's removed so much of the living Force from his body. But he still tries. So he immerses himself in this meditation like pool, and he
It's like
sees
this like weird.
it's like a waterfall, yeah. And he
Yeah,
gets
weird.
and he gets
Cool.
turned. He gets turned. He sees himself as his Kalish version
Yeah,
of himself.
like
You see what he
back.
looked like, but the Force is telling him, like, dude, you're always going to be small. Like, you're trying to destroy this thing that you've never
Like
understood.
Grievous has an ego. Like it's funny because like we really get to see like Grievous's ego and like oh I gotta slaughter you all and stuff like that, and then like the Force just kind of like talks him.
He's like,
talks down to
the
him.
Force is like, dude, you
And he
destroyed
hates it though.
yourself.
He hates it.
You literally destroys yourself, and the Force shows
Right.
him his limbs rip away, and there's a panel where it's just the
like
organic
eyes
parts.
and like
It's
guts
just the
and, like,
organic parts of
gross.
Grievous left, which are the eyes, the brain, and like a few guts. And it's like it's
Yeah.
brutal because it's like,
It is
dude,
gross.
you don't understand this. You carved away your own connection to the Force. Like you
Right.
suck. That's all you're ever gonna be. A little small little boy who just
Yeah.
hates everything.
But he
And
hates that. He hates
yeah.
like that. What he
And so he
was said.
he
He starts
gets
like
out of it. And it's like,
attacking
the
with the
water. Yeah.
lightsabers. Yeah, the water with the lightsabers. So cool.
So
So then
of
he
course
goes
he bombs it
and
from orbit.
blows it up. Yeah, he backs up, calls a airstrike in, and it blows up.
He isn't a redemptive villain. He's just
Yeah.
this petty evil dude who doesn't like he is literally in the world of Star Wars the most evil you can be. He removed all the parts of the Force from himself and wants to destroy it, but he just can't understand it. And I think it's a really cool little
it's great.
quick
8.3.
8. I give it an 8.3. So we're coming to the end here. I don't know if you can tell, viewer, if you made it this far. Thank you for watching. We're speeding up.
Yes.
A little bit of catch up for today for the Canon Catch-Up.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow, that's a big one. Look at that. Yeah, a lot of catch up, viewer.
Viewer. Yeah.
Thank you, viewer.
Thanks, guys.
We have to go talk about
yeah.
the Bad Batch finale, but
that's what we gotta do. But
thank you.
Good.
I took a lot. I took a lot.
I see. Yeah.
Thank you for
I'll
watching.
Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a fun one, a little speedy one, but hopefully you guys comprehended everything we were talking about. But hey, if you guys want to read along with us, please do. It's pretty cool. We're going in canonical order, so it's been fun. But yeah, we will see you guys
next time.
We'll do another next time. Next time.